all these pyramids were vibrating to different frequencies to work together as a grid line. And these walls were recessed for that reason. Here's the so-called bent pyramid. Now, Egyptologists will tell you this was a mistake. They started out with this 55-degree angle. They couldn't, 55-degree angle. They couldn't complete it. The architects came to the king and said, we can't go on. It's going to collapse. We have to change it. So they changed it to a 43-degree angle, and this was a mistake. Well, according to our teachings, there was no mistakes. These people didn't make mistakes. This is purposely at 2 angles for a reason. Christopher even mentioned this to me in 1999 when we were in Egypt together, before even knowing that there was another gentleman who said the same thing. And I'll tell you, Chris said when he looked at this, so well, that's probably utilizing 2 different frequencies of sound. Well, he didn't even know that a famous man whose name all may ring a bell to you, named Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message, Canadian gentleman, went to Egypt in 1968. 1968, looked at this pyramid and says, well, obviously, this pyramid is producing 2 different frequencies of sound. And he's right. Now, we're going to return to this pyramid, because this pyramid is part of a theory that we're working on. As you can see, this pyramid still has its casing stones on it, but the sides look like they've been attacked. We'll go back to that. Next. Here it is again from a distance. I don't know if you can see it too clearly, but this shows clearly that there was water here at one time. There is silt still available thousands of years after the fact. This all had water going here. All these pyramids were involved with water. And what's interesting here is the ground slopes from west to east, meaning coming from the ancient river, not from the river. The Nile as she is today would be over here. It has nothing to do with this pyramid. The ground slopes from west to east from where the ancient river was in the west, which is all western desert today. Next. And this, interesting, there's another pyramid at this area of Dashur. Just about a mile or so away is this structure, which is called a pyramid, which was built in the 12th dynasty, the Middle Kingdom pyramid, for a king who had a title, Amenemhat. And Egyptologists will tell you all these pyramids were built by the same people, but this is built with mud brick. It's basically collapsed. There's basically nothing there today. Very little limestone was even used. David mentioned this morning. He made a profound statement. And this is so true when you study ancient Egypt. The further you go back, the more grandiose the architecture is. The more grandiose the glyphs are and the construction. The more you go forward, the more it seems to get worse. So that's against our linear theory of evolution. If we're going from the primitive to complex in a straight line, as time goes on, we should get better, get more superior. Why did these people not? This pyramid is clearly inferior to what you just saw, because it wasn't built by the same people. It wasn't built with the same technology. That's why. And no one was ever found in that, by the way. There's nobody, no intact burial has ever been found in an Egyptian pyramid. Now here we are at Saqqara. Saqqara is a famous site. It's known as a great burial ground. The dynastic period buried people here for thousands and thousands of years. We find tombs upon tombs upon tombs. But we're talking about a time when this wasn't on the west bank of the river, which is usually where the dead are associated, but was on the east. And this was a great healing center, where great sound healing was involved. And I'll get into a little more detail about that. But we're taught from Egyptologists that this is the first true pyramid, the step pyramid of Zoshir, they call it, as if they even know who a Zoshir was. But they say this was the first pyramid and everything else evolved from there. Well, we say this is the earliest one. This is actually the latest one. This is not the oldest. This pyramid, we date at 1,300 years earlier than Egyptologists do. They dated around 2,700 BC. It's actually around 4,000 BC. The pyramids you saw and the Great Pyramid you're going to see are well over 10,000 years old. So this is more, and this was not a pernetter. This is a glorified perka. This was a mastaba, which means, Arab word means bench, where people were buried and a stone slab was put over so the jackal wouldn't get at the body and destroy the body. It was built one on top of another, until it looked like a pyramid or it resembled pyramids, but it was not. This pyramid was not built to utilize sound. It was not built to be an energy device. It is just a glorified tomb. And they tell you that this structure dates from the same time period. This is nonsense. We could take you there and show you these structures. This structure is at least 12,000 to 15,000 years old. Much older than this. One of the great teachings that Hakim gives to me is that in his ability, as I said, he's Western trained. He's an incredible archaeologist. And in archaeology, you're taught this idea of stratigraphy, that you look at layers, and you can see archaeological layers upon. Hakim's teachings are like peeling away the layer of an onion. He shows you the Islamic Egyptian layer that's there, the Greek layer, the Roman layer, the Jewish layer, the Coptic layer, the dynastic layer, and underneath is ancient Kemet. So what we talk about now is layers of civilization upon civilization upon civilization, and Egyptologists have confused it. They've put these things together where they think they see one coherent system when it's actually civilization upon civilization upon civilization. And I'm now going to show you a series of slides that illustrate that. Again, this structure, over 15,000 years. This structure, maybe 4,000 BC, 6,000. Now here's a wall that was built in dynastic times. Not ancient, but this is just, I mean, I could take you there, folks. Nobody goes here. We all go in here, tourists go here, do this. This is just 5 minutes away from this site here, and everything there is exposed for you to see what you're going to see now. But tourists don't go here. They're not allowed to go here. So now he says, move to the left. Next slide. And here we see bedrock, tunnels going through, exposed. The Egyptologists have done the work for us, folks. It's here. Right through the limestone bedrock are tunnels. Move further to the left as we go again. Here's more tunnels. Tunnels going down. Remember, David showed you these structures that were man-made. Well, this is a tunnel drilled to look like the symbol of pi. Greeks invented pi, they tell us. But we tell you that everything the Greeks learned was from ancient Kemet. So here are more tunnels. And look at this tunnel here. Hakim tells me, go forward, Stephen, take another picture. So we move closer. Here you see these tunnels again, going straight through limestone bedrock. And Christopher could perhaps address better than I how they possibly could have done this, drilled these tunnels straight through limestone bedrock. But here, we go closer. And we go again. Next. And look at this. Now, it's not perfect. Chris has come with his levels to Egypt and has done some measurement and showed this is not exactly a right angle, but look at this. We're going through limestone bedrock, and this tunnel, folks, goes down 300 meters and ends in water. And here we are at the great site of Saqqara where the healing was done. We're going to do this briefly. But what was done here, there's these niches. There's only a few of them extant. We take our tour groups here to experience this. There's only a few of them left. Only, in fact, 2. There were once 28 of them, 14 on each side, where, now I'll show you how this was done. There's a platform that's right here. It's a raised platform. I don't have a slide of it. But a patient who had an illness, a problem, would stand on this platform. The person who would go in here was a healer, healess, priestess, would put their head in here. You hear incredible sound vibrations when you put your head in here. The healer would intone a sound frequency, would see an MRI in their mind of the patient, would see all their energy zones, the blood flow, the lymph flow, organ blocks, tissue blocks, would know immediately where the blockage was, where the problem was. A link was made between the healer and the patient, and the healing process began. Because anybody who here is a healer and has done healing knows that no one heals anybody else. No one, no doctor, no healer heals anyone else. All they do is act as a guide to allow the body to heal itself. And that was known in Egypt 10,000 years ago. Next. Now, it's Step Pyramid, again, more recent, not a true predator. This courtyard here, today, all sand, was once all alabaster. All the floors and all the temples of Kemet were made of alabaster. Alabaster is an Italian word. It actually means African crystal. It's for vibration, for sound, for vibratory effect is why they used crystal. They used water, sound, and crystal to accomplish what we're going to talk about later. Next. Here we go. Here's a great blow for diffusionism. And as I said, David, I, and just about everybody here are diffusionists. In 1997, Hakim met me in California before we were to engage in a major expedition to Egypt in 1997 in September, which is a major part of the research of my book. He told me he was going to show me evidence of a Mayan temple in Egypt. And I went, wow. The lights went off, bells and whistles. Here's my 15 minutes of fame. I'm in the history books if I can prove this. So we went south of Saqqara, and again, I just went back there a little over a week ago, so this still exists, and it still can be found, folks. Tourists are not allowed to go here. We had to pull some strings to get in here, but we did. We went south of Saqqara about a half mile, and here I came upon a temple of an individual Egyptologist called Maya. Well, Hakim says, again, just like the king's titles in a cartouche, this was not a person's name. It was a title, Maya. Interestingly enough, one of the words in Egyptian Arabic for water today is Maya. As Andrea can tell you, as everybody else who was with me just in Egypt can tell you, when they'd come around to our table and say, what do you want to drink? I'd say, oh, Maya. Oh, yeah, they'd laugh. Ha, you know the Egyptian word. It means water. Think about that. Keep that in your mind. It means water. So it wasn't a name. There are many individuals you can point to in Egyptian history who had the title Maya. But here I'm looking at him. Okay, well, I'm looking at this and I say, okay, well, it looks typically Comitian Egyptian, It's a tomb scene. He's got his food for the afterlife.